Amazing as we set up here. Oxide, Lightshade, 2000, Atmospheres, Beckett Industries, and I didn't get to read the rest of them before we begin. Nils each to start off this series. Solo versus Trap, Best of 7. Grand Finals of the NetEase Esports X Tournaments 2021 SC2 Masters Season 1. Okay, well, honestly, the finals, which I don't think a lot of people predicted, Solo really went on quite the run to make it here, and he's beaten some top-end players, Maru, Raynor. I mean, he's not been messing around. Trap taking out Cyril in a series of the tournaments so far against Cure in the semifinals for Trap. Thrilled to see what Trap will bring us in PvZ. A PvZ that looked shaky in the group stages. He nearly went out to a laser. He was down a game, and he genuinely looked as though... he was going to be in a hell of a lot of trouble. Let's get this setting up and ready to go. Hatch gas and soon to be a spawning pool coming up from Solar. Let's see this probe trap going to come down. Going to build up a Nexus. Just going to get that started here in the early stages. So, yeah, Best of 7, we're going to get to see all the maps if it goes the distance. I mean, you're gonna definitely see a mix of queen walks and aggressive openings. Trap's gonna have to play some mix-ups here, some Twilights most likely in the Best of 7. His PvZ looked pretty good against Cyril the other day. That's the one thing you gotta say. His PvZ, his timings looked sharp, his builds looked scary. He did get into a couple positions where he got behind. It did feel as though Cyril gave up a couple leads. Those are positions you're gonna want to try and avoid getting into today, though. So. And he did mix it up against Cyril too. Like, he started going like Colossi in that final game that he won and stuff. It was definitely a bit of a different way of playing. As you have our link speed is just on the way from Solar, and the Stargate going to build in the main base of Trap. So we're going to start with the Stargate. Now it's going to be Stargate off that Warp Gate as well. It's not the fastest Stargate. See this a fair amount nowadays, going Stargate post Warp Gate. There's something of a mind game to be played there as well. It's going to be seen our Adept going to move up the ramp into the natural. A couple Lings moving around and just going to go for that Adept. So Adept taking a couple shots. As you do have the Ling speed about halfway done and continuing through, there's an Oracle already on the way in. So Oracle just building up here right now. And Stalker coming through as well. Scan all of this setup, a couple of extra probes on the way out. Just going to be seeing that Stalker again just about halfway done at the moment here from Trap. And as the Overlord goes flying through, it's going to go and try and hunt down some Stargates, and, well, just tech in general. It is hidden right in the corner of the main, so it makes it difficult to see this as soon as possible, which is why you want to go Oracle first, because then the Oracle's going to get across the map without being seen as quickly. I mean, Solo sees nothing in the main, and, I almost believe he wants to think this is probably like a proxy or something. And as the Stalker will start to deal damage to that Overlord, it finally turns up, and he will get to see the Stargate and the second Oracle on the way. As the first, already advancing in toward the main base right now. So, coming around, going to go into the natural. There's a Spore and a Queen ready. This shouldn't be too problematic here from Solid's point of view for a defense. This should be pretty alright for him. So 3 drones going down. I mean, that's actually pretty good, though, for Trap, right? I mean, not a bad start considering Solo should have been somewhat prepared for that. As now these Adepts, though, are going to fall. Nope, they shade away, but they are pushed back, so that third base will be a little tougher to take. As Trap's going for a Robo and no other tech behind this just yet. So, the Robo follow up a Prism, maybe. Get some Adepts over the other side of the map. What else can you really go from here? Man, 3 more drones on that third base. Oracles take a little bit of damage past the shields, but not too much. Wow, going to go for an Immortal right away here, Trap. Okay. Maybe wants to make sure he's really well prepared in case of a Roach attack early. I mean, the only other possibility is that you're potentially going to try and use this as a way to... As these Adepts are out of position and that third gets cancelled. You're potentially going to try and use this as a way to push and be aggressive. think he's just trying to be fairly safe. But that, I mean, that is a fast immortal for an Oracle opening. 2 more gates start up. We're going to rebuild that third base again. See what else we continue to warp in. Right now, there's already 2 sentries. There's a little bit of force field potential. There is a prism. And it could just be a bit of a poke across the map. See what's going on. See if you can get anything done and kind of just go from there. Adept ends up to the top side. Just going to be seeing the feeling. He's going to go and jump on that Adept. Adept is going to go down. I mean, both players had good early games here in the sense of Solo got to deny that third a bit, and then obviously Trap got a few drones. Now this army's starting to move across the map here for Trap, as one Stalker's going to get caught. Force Field is going to keep the Lings there a moment or two longer. A few Lings going down, the rest of them run into that army. Solo is making Ling Road Trap. I don't think there's a push through here for Trap. He is already building probes to start saturating that third base, so he doesn't seem to think there's a push through here that's going to work in his favor either. As those additional few Stalkers coming in. Damage onto the Queen, and just going to be pulling back a little bit. There's a Twilight and the Forge on the way. Another counter on this third base. This time the Oracles will deal with it, but a pylon goes down. And yeah, the problem for Trap is that he's obviously built into this Immortal Sentry push, and now he didn't do much with it. Okay, you forced units, but your other tech is going to be delayed from here. Your Twilight, your Forge, so those upgrades, which usually go a long way to helping you out. Missing those can be pretty problematic, so something for us to look at is a few more Lings being taken down. Now a Spire on the way from Solo. Well, +1 and Blink's on the way as Trap's choice to kind of follow up from this. So he will have something of an answer to Mutas right away. Obviously, he has the Stargate as well, so he has the potential to build into the... Phoenix as well against this if you would like to. This Immortal pops out. Forge still just Corona Boost now to +1. A couple of additional gates still building here from Trap. So still getting those extra gates up and rolling. Just going to continue down this bottom side, so going on a little bit of a push through. We have Blink on the way. Again, a couple of extra Stalkers warping in. Our 10 meters are building. Now, Trap, he's been hallucination scouting, but I don't believe he found the Spire on the third. Nope, so he doesn't know about these meters coming in. Like, he's getting some general prep, cannons and mineral lines, etc., but I mean, he's mostly just building up into an Immortal Blink Stalker +1 timing, right? He's still building Immortals, he's just going +1 on Blink. There's no tech behind that. There's no Temple Archives or anything yet. So Trap really wants to hit and hit hard right now. Now, these Mutas are likely to do well going across the map because Trap's going to focus on attacking. But the Mutas are not going to do very well in helping to fight this army. Now, there's a couple of drones going down. These Oracles being active. Now I believe he has seen Mutalisks, so Trap has to make a decision on how to do this. Solo's going to full-on base trade, launches the attack across the map. Going to fully commit to the base trade. So isn't going to waste any time elsewhere as we blink through. Going to get rid of one base. Yeah, just going to send everything to the other side. Right, well, Mutas are great in a base trade. Trap obviously getting a base trade so quickly definitely helps too. Removes the time he has to set up. He's actually going to recall. And he's only going to recall half the army. That's a risky play, because if Solo can fight that half of the army, that's dangerous. But of course it gives Trap the chance to maybe continue forward with the rest. But he's actually starting to pull that back. Was this just not really the plan, Trap? Is this falling apart? Force field's coming down. They're going to get busted by the Ravagers and the Biles. It just feels like there might be a little bit too much Solo right now. Streaming on in. 23 workers going down. It really does look as though Trap just let this fall apart. Preparation for the Mutas was nil, and he just wasn't really ready for this base trade in the slightest. Solo 1, Trap 0. Map 2 gets underway right now. Best of 7, first to 4 wins it. How's that probe going to head across the upper left-hand side? Trap going to go on a little bit of a scout. Obviously, More than just a scout, but a block on the natural, so doing exactly that at the moment. Now, if Solo wins this, he's had a really impressive group tournament because he lost to Cure, right, and dropped down to... Oh, no, he beat Curator, then he lost to Cure in the winners match. No, how did that work? He beat Reno in the decider match after Reno lost to Cure. So, yeah, he beat Curator, lost to Cure, beat Reno. And then he beat Time convincingly, Maru in a pretty good fashion. And then he played Trap in the finals. I mean, that's a hell of a run to a tournament finals. That would be a hell of a finals to take as well. Remember that this event, guys, lots on the line. It is obviously big prize money. I mean, you're talking about $7,700 for first place, $4.6K for second place. So this is a $3,000 best of 7, basically. Not just that, but ESL points as well. ESL points are a pretty big deal. They get you to Katowice and they give you better seats. I mean, Trap getting points from, you know, Trap finished, what, top 4 in GSL, right? So just to put this in perspective, Trap finished top 4 in GSL. I'm just looking at this now. And with his points guaranteed from Next and TSL already, and he still obviously maybe get more points if you win this. You get more points if he continues in TSL. He will be ahead of Rogue, who obviously won the first season of GSL. Now, Trap also won GSL Super Tournament, so he, you know, he does get extra points from that as well, which helps him to catch up. But it's all those little things that are adding up that are definitely going to make a difference. I mean, for Solar as well, you know, he has not had an amazing GSL season so far, etc., but an amazing year, like nothing too crazy. But the extra points from this is basically an extra like round of 16 plus finish in GSL. I mean, you add on a couple of events of like this year in the year, and Solar's the kind of guy who is absolutely rising up the ranks. He's going to start taking, you know, one of the top 8 seeds for Katowice. And he's one of these players that grinds the weekly events as well. He's got 64 ESL points from weekly events. That's almost half as many as he earned in the first GSL tournament of the year. So yeah, these events when they award ESL points is something that I really think is something worth talking about, because I feel like this is something that wasn't talked about last year a lot until it was much later in the year. And then all of a sudden we were like, oh, by the way, everyone's qualified for Katowice, or there's like 1 or 2 people who are in the running, or something like that. So yeah, no, I think like it'd be cool to start talking about this a bit more frequently, because it definitely has some influence. This game is going to be Twilight Council and the Resonating Glaives opener, so we are going to be seeing Trap go in full switch-up mode to try and set up into game number 2. Light Shade, quick map to push across on the counter-attack. If you lose those adepts, the Solar Roach Ravager could very quickly come across and then punish that, so you got to be careful with those adepts here. You got to be very careful with those adepts here. As you see a couple of the adepts right now coming around the right side and pushing the Zerglings away. They didn't build enough on the point stories throughout the year. I think the issue is that GSL don't care about ESL points, right? So like, and like DreamHack obviously does mention like DreamHack points for European players and players in the other regions. But there's no one talking about the Korean players' points because GSL doesn't care. They don't show it ever, right? Unless please correct me if I'm wrong. GSL don't really show it, and if GSL don't show it, then where do you really show it for Korea? Like, where does it fit into the shows? It's yeah, that's why I feel like it's important for us to tell the story when we can, basically. Yeah, for sure. Alright. Here you go with these first adepts showing up. Now, this is actually one of those funkier builds, right? This is actually going to be no Robo facility. It's just going to be 3 gates of glaives. And these adepts just going to shade in. This is like an old school adept opener. Trapped this... I want to say Trapped did this recently, but maybe it was somebody else. No, I think he did this against Cyril, right? Old school adept opener. It did okay, and then I think it actually got shut down pretty hard. It was the additional adepts after that did okay. I don't remember if that was versus Cyril, but yeah, this is definitely a bit old school, and now I'm just going to shade extra adepts in over here, and a bunch of drones going to start going down. So Solar will start to take some damage at the end. 5 drones, 6 drones, and a few lings before these adepts not even go down, right? 2 of them will shade out alive, so good damage done by Trap moving in and succeeding for the moment. Ling's gonna run in here. The wall isn't up, and that's massive for Solar. Oh, Trap, are you just dead? If Wolof doesn't go up, there's Mineral Line's in trouble, man. So many workers are going to go down here. The problem is with Protoss builds is that you're relying on a wall, so you don't always have the unit count right away. Obviously, those adepts on the map. Okay, maybe saying, is he dead is a bit of an overstatement, because he still had some adepts alive, right? Plus, he warped in a few more. But that is bad. 6 probes going down out of nowhere, and that really puts a hit on your economy. Especially as Solar was actually not in a great drone position himself. Trap was taking a worker lead. So that's some damage which Solar will be very, very happy to come out with. Because it's going to give him a chance to somewhat stabilize now in this game. So yeah, no, I thought that might actually be worse though. I really did think that there could be like 10 plus workers or so. But yeah, I guess well handled by Trap to minimize damage done. And like I say, like Solar's just kind of stuck on worker count because he is just going to go full throttle into a Roach Ling attack here. I mean, 45 drones. He's not built more drones for a while. He knows what he wants to do. He wants to attack, and he's already starting to march the Queens across. I believe that's the blue blob in the middle. Again, an open wall off, and Solar's just going to get a few Lings up into the main. It's just little distractions like this that let Solar get set up into the middle of the map easily and freely. And on top of that, it's the little things that are just going to affect Trap's army supply. Maybe warping an Adept or two to defend this because it's, you know, a good way of cleaning up Lings. But then Adepts aren't going to help against these incoming Roach Ravagers. Right? You know, those little things, they add up, and Solar just sees everything as well, so you can be fully certain he wants to commit to this attack. Where's he going to go? I mean, a lot of the time you go up the ramp in between the natural and the third base to kind of put you, like here, to put you in a position between those bases. Obviously, see that Trap is kind of getting in position to deal with that. I mean, first force fields go down so soon, and they're just going to get piled down instantly. So the force fields do basically nothing, and Solar's just going to start collapsing on this army. Trap, do you have enough here? Corrosive Biles are being dodged. Super Battery's up, but the Super Battery also popped very quickly here, and Solar will just not fight near that in the slightest. So he says, yeah, sure. And the problem is, a lot of the time, if you don't get any time with the Super Battery in play, you're going to have just a rough time, right? These Immortals right now, you can see them going down. The Corrosive Biles actually hit down the Overseer. But outside of that, they do kind of force the Immortals to split away a little bit as well. Solar still has work to do. I mean, he's way behind on workers. You need to do a lot right now. You need to do a lot, else you're going to end up in trouble. So let's see if we can get the rest of it done. 30 army supply lead. Yeah, and overall supplies look fairly close, but you got to remember that Trap has workers that just aren't going to add anything to this, right? So they're not important until he actually gets the cleanup on this initially. Good Biles coming down, going to force the Immortals back again. Really important that Solar starts to kill off some of these Immortals because, especially 3 Immortals, they start one-shotting Roaches, and then your army just doesn't stand up for long enough as Solar. I think Trap's actually going to have this defense, guys. He is going to make this hold. And Solar going to have to type GG. That didn't work out for him. That push in just was not it. Yeah, good hold from Trap. So what went right for Trap there, right? To just kind of discuss a little bit. Why does that work? Appearances. I texted her to see if she has an Amazon Prime for subbing. No, but sorry, obviously I got carried away in my thoughts. I just wanted to say that I really think that you know, in a way, I wonder if Solar lost too many Lings on the attacks in that didn't get enough probes. It did seem to take a while to hit with this attack after being on 45 workers for a while too, so I wonder if that just had an influence, because it never felt like his army was overwhelmingly scary, because when he showed up, there was already 2 Immortals ready. But just still, a Queen Walk's always still scary, but when you look back, actually, Trap might have been feeling pretty secure about that the entire time. I'm going to get a few nibbles on the probe. As we just take a few moments to settle down. Pretty standard, safe early game. Nothing really too crazy. Yeah, it didn't do much of the things. I agree, like, it felt really bad for Solo, for Trap, the Lings getting in, but the way he handled it really did work out in his favor, maybe. Yeah, it was, I mean, 6 probes, but how many Lings were there, like 20? I don't think it was bad for Solo. I think it was just maybe too slow coming across the map with everything else. Trap was already building Immortals, etc. And he did a couple more drones of damage as well with, like, a little Adept counterattack, too. The step just going to be Chrono Boost now. We settle down here. Wait to see what the tech choice of trap's going to be for game 3. The second run by with Lings, he did 0 damage. Yeah, but the second run by didn't take too much commitment anyway. Like, the second run by was only like 5 Lings or so, right? It wasn't that big. And even then, I feel like, while he doesn't do any, like, direct damage, you still put yourself in a position where you are... you still put yourself in a position where you're able to... you still put yourself in a position where you're obviously, like, distracting the Protoss, you're forcing warp-ins. All that kind of stuff. Anyway, Stargate here going to be a Void Ray opening as we get this up and running. Void Ray is going to insta-kill this Overlord, of course. Remove that bit of information to begin with. Couple Queens coming forward. Adept and takes some damage already. I'm just going to be having the Spore Crawler on the way up at the moment. So bring that Spore up next. It's on the way down for the third base. I mean, there's going to be a second Stargate from Trap, so we are going to see him playing now a double Stargate setup, something a bit different to what we've been seeing before. As the Spore comes in to try and save a drone. Couple drones dead overall. So yeah, I like it. So far, chat really is coming with very different, you know, styles and games each time. And that's what you need in a Best of 7 PvZ. You need to go different. You can't just do the same thing again and again and again. You gotta keep switching it up. Gotta keep switching it up. Six drones dead. The couple of drones every now and then again just continue to come on through. I was going to see our Forge coming up, a couple of Voids still coming in, Robo Facility. I mean, again, you're going to build these Voids into that ground army after. The real question is, you know, how quickly are you going to try and go into, like, a ground army or so here? How quickly do you go into carries and stuff? Those are the questions we are still going to have coming out of this, so... settling down for that at the moment. About 4 drones going down again. I gotta say, this a little bit of Oracle Harass has really done a lot more than I thought it would. It's been pretty consistent, right? And just, like, consistently putting some of the damage out there. I mean, there's been, like, 10 plus workers killed this game from just little bits of harassment that you don't expect to be so successful. And that's the kind of stuff that also just really adds up over time as well, right? So, yeah, been pretty wild here so far, as we do see batteries and a robo base. We're going to see those disruptors. We're seeing this more and more as well, this kind of defensive disruptor style. Lings running through. Void Rays are putting some damage out, and Ling's taking a bunch of damage as Queen's going to show up to push the Voids out over the left-hand side. Ling's just going to sit between the bases. I mean, at this stage, the Spy's about to finish up. Solar has got to go Mutas here, right? Mutas overwhelm the Void Rays. You can't go Corrupt. Like, are you going to try and go Corruptors and fight the Void Rays head on? Like, that seems crazy. He's got a lot of gas for whatever he wants to do. There we go. Mutas on the way. Voids are still building, though, which is great for Trap, because if nothing else, it's going to mean that Trap has just a baseline defense, right? You know, he's going to have something that can at least shoot at those Mutalisks. So that definitely is a pretty big deal. The Queen's going to drop the creep tumors down, spreading that out a little bit. Now a few Corruptors coming up, so we're going to go for the mix, as now Phoenix are on the way as well against those Mutas. So we're going to start seeing like Phoenix Void against Muta Corruptor. Like each of those units is good against, you know, one of the others. But then you've got that combination, so it all comes down to control, and if you can get the shots of the right units onto the right units of your opponent, and it's going to get a little exciting, isn't it? Let's dive in. Obviously, the first time we're really seeing these getting any damage done. Yeah, they get pushed back without doing much at all. More than anything, when you're playing against Voiders with the Mutas, usually it's all about kind of moving this army around and keeping that busy. I feel like that's usually the kind of way to go about it, as the Muta Corruptor Queen continues through just a little bit. These Phoenix still up in the sky with those Void Rays all gathering together. He's going to go diving in for a battery. I mean, just trying to open up a bit of stack defense space. As, I mean, right now, the air army of Trap is just that much better, right? So, don't really like where this is going for solo. Now, you get to a point where the Corruptors can start, like, one-shotting a little bit more. And that definitely does, you know, aid you quite a bit. I mean, if the Corruptors can get up to that number, I mean, they're on their way there. But even then, they don't necessarily trade brilliantly, as these Phoenix are just going to completely destroy the Mutalisks. And we're back into Void production and Flux Veins as well. So really going into that Void Ray speed, getting that set up, etc. Yeah, a lot of the right ideas here, I think. From Trap, really feels like he's done pretty good control of the game so far, in my eyes. I like what he's getting done. Now, we do see Voids and Phoenix in a fight. There you go, the trade onto the Corruptors. No Flux Veins yet, so it's a little bit more difficult to micro those Voids back and forth properly. Trying to use the Phoenix to tank as well, of course. That also makes a lot of sense, given the situation. Disruptor showing up, and then it's going to blast 3 Queens, and that's massive because it just takes away so much of that anti-air that Solar is somewhat relying on as well to make sure you can continue having a good time with all of this. Now these Voids are going to turn back onto Corruptors. Corruptors taking some shots. And we're all going to be seeing the couple extra Queens going down still. This army of Trap continues through. Queen after Queen going down. These Corruptors coming back onto the Void Rays. Those Voids are taking a lot of damage at the moment. The Zealots, slow moving. Twilight not ready, so you don't have charge yet here as Trap. So, you don't have charge for these Zealots you just made. I gotta say, I feel like so far Trap has been trading wonderfully. I think he's been doing a very good job of this so far. I think he's going to come around the bottom side. They're going to get a little surround. Just going to keep on fighting at the moment, as we do have our stasis wards continuing in. Just going to be seeing this Corruptor force trying to come down the bottom. Cannons are set up there, looking to be pretty good defensively. Going to keep Solar at bay at the moment, so far, so good for sure. Definitely doing a decent job of all of this, as those Lings and Roaches are going to run in over that left-hand side. And get a little surround on these Zealots here. Again, clean up just that little bit. And Trap is just continuing to get settled now. You can see our Great Aspire about to finish up, so Broodlords can start a morph. At least you can put some use from these Corruptors if you feel like they're not doing enough. Just as Corruptors, at least they have that secondary usage now, but, I mean, you know, there's obviously still an air army up, so you still kind of need to be able to deal with that. So you can't just go morphing all your Corruptors into Broods. It needs to be more of an addition than anything else. This Wolf Prism gets shot down by the Queens immediately. And we're going to keep pushing through. The few Broods that are here are going to get shot right away, but honestly, it's more about getting the Corruptors. If you get rid of these Corruptors, these Voids are just going to win the game here for Trap. He is sitting in Power Stack Bombs, mind you, and that ain't going to help. Disruptor Shot going to try and scalp a few Roaches. I mean, the ground army isn't really looking good for Trap. But again, if the Void's winning in the sky, they will just kill off anything on the ground, because it's not like there's Hydras or anything, right? Trap going to keep up fighting against these Corruptors. It's going to be a full-on trade-out. Two Queens joining in. They might just make the difference. As a few more of those Voids go down. Now some Zealots showing up to try and help out on the ground as well on the other side of this. They're just going to try and slow this Force of Solar down before it gets forward too far and gets to do too much damage. Well, these last few Void Rays continue to drop, and I think Trap is in maybe just a little bit too much trouble now. And the problem is going to be tough to rebuild the Voids fast enough compared to how fast these Corruptors can get built. And he's still got also the ground army to deal with too, so if you're not dealing with the Corruptors quickly, the ground army is going to be successful. The good news is you do have some static defense to lean back on, so that is something else to help out. It's coming through. Roaches and Broods coming in as well. It's just going to be continuing for this. I mean, the Broods do give you that little bit of range attacking. So they get exposed to Voids for a moment. They start to go down. That's where the Corruptors have to make their jump forward once again, make themselves known in this situation. Here we go. Voids coming through. A couple of them prismatic, but look how close the Spores are. I gotta say, Trap is remaxed. And he was down like 50 supply at one point. So remaxed and putting some pressure on the other side. Is this possibly starting to go Trap's way? If he can clear out these Broods, I mean, it's a nice disruptor to try and hit a Spore, but doesn't do enough, and now that disruptor is going to give itself up as well, so that's going to be a problem too. Trap going to move around. I like that. You know, you're pretty much putting yourself in a position where you're saying, well, I'm going to take your static defense away from you, because the static defense is on the front line. Just going elsewhere, hitting the economy. Now Solar's not going to be able to rebuild as much. Geez. Trap was honestly felt like he was in some trouble, but his power has been the Void Rays, and I still got to say, it just feels like there's never quite been the proper answer to Void Rays all game long from Solar. Like, he's never actually had a handle on that Void Ray counter. And it did look scary for Trap. It looked really scary for Trap. But the Void Rays have definitely helped to make this close again, and I say close, I mean, he's leading. Killing a lot of drones. I mean, there's nothing on the ground at the moment from Solar to really keep on fighting. Corruptors are going to win the fight, so we kind of got to back away. But otherwise, we kind of have a, we kind of have Solar in a bit of a, tough spot. I mean, supplies are going to even up now. He's getting more Corruptors and more Vipers, but I like what Trap is doing. Just lots of Archons. They're going to go a long way in these upcoming fights. Corruptor's going to get a Void Ray or two for free, though. That's something you don't really want to have happen. So that's a little bit of a concern. These Corruptors continuing through. The Zealots trying to run up to the top side. Zealots running in, trying to go up against each other here. Just going to see those Zerglings trying to run in as well. Zealots going to turn and fight. A lot of those Lings taking a lot of damage. Oh, Great Aspire being surrounded by drones to try and keep it going. As this game full on hectic, isn't it? 1-1 tied up in this best of 7. This is game 3. Just gonna be seeing those odds still trying to find a way through, man. They're finally gonna get the Great Aspire. A couple more Broodlords moved. I'm not sure how big a deal losing the Great Aspire is. Like, how big a deal are the Broodlords right now? I'm still like, okay, they help against the ground army, yes. I guess if the Voids can't overwhelm the Corruptors, they are a pretty big deal. So stopping how many of them you can get is going to be very substantial. And Archons and Voids just going to go counter-attacking again. I think that's the way to do it. Again, if you're fighting with the Spores at the frontier as Solar, no way Trap wants to fight you there. Of course not. No, he doesn't care if you think that's a fair fight. It's not. So he's just going to run around and take those fights elsewhere and just let this harassment, you know, run its course. Make sure that Solar basically has no rebuild, so once he takes on this army, it is just this army and nothing else behind it. Also gives him more time to set up Void Rays and build the Void Ray count up and get into a position he believes he can win this fight in too. He is up about 30 army supply now, but remember, a lot of that is Zealots, which are harassing more so than taking a straight-up fight. Here we go, a couple Queens start to go down very quickly. Transfusions now being traded out. Boys need to turn onto those Corruptors as Prismatic is available. It's a bit of a waste not to use the Prismatic on the Corruptors. What he's doing now is he's targeting down Broods, because the moment these Broods go down, what happens is his ground army can, in theory, win the fight. Was that the play from Trap, though? Because it didn't quite work out. There's a few Broods left. The idea is you can, you know, if there's no Brood Lords, there's no ground army, then the Archons just win out eventually, right? Okay, Sola's gonna give it up and type GG. Army supplies are still kind of close to the end, but Sola can't build anything. And that makes a massive difference. Game 4. What a map. Beckett Industries, a trap takes the lead. Hey, thank you, Dog Templar, for the Prime sub for the 8 months. Welcome back. Appreciate it. Yeah, thank you so much, Trandalgan, for the gifted subs. I appreciate that. Bucky Wild on the 4-month resub on the Prime as well. Thanks, guys. You guys trying to make a little hype train out of Trandalgan's gifted subs? Hell yeah. Couple more people. Hype train this gifted sub train away. Spawn pool is on the way initially here from Solar, so he's going to go pool early. It's a super short map, so you got to be very careful on this map as trap of any sort of counter aggression, etc. Otherwise, you can fall into trouble very, very quickly. And I really mean very quickly. Map the shortest rush distance we've had in a long time in competitive Starcraft 2. What do you guys think for Beckett? Beckett's a weird map. Swarm hosts are good here. Lurkers can be good here. It's the kind of map that It's the kind of map that PvZ can actually be okay on, despite it being so weird, but there's definitely some weirder things, so careful things you gotta look out for, you know, along the way. Now, come on, Lings. Put some pressure on. You gotta cancel on the gate. I mean, Trap got the Nexus so early anyway, I don't think he really minds this too much. Probes coming in. The attempt to get these probes not going well so far. The probe that was low jumped into the gas. One probe killed. Good defense from Trap. Saves that probe from the low ground too. Really nicely done. This map is banned from GSL. Yeah, they removed it from the map pool. GSL like to do that. Change the map pool. A map they think isn't very good, they replace with a map that also isn't very good. To be fair, Nautilus is actually a decent map, I think. First time in a while. Some of the maps they used to replace were absolutely questionable, you know? Especially, like, they replaced Submarine, but at the end of the day, I think Submarine was a pretty fun map. Trap is currently just murdering Solo with a couple of Adepts, and I mean, that's just 5 drones already dead here, so fantastic start from Trap. He's off to a 2-1 lead, and obviously now 5 drones dead. Already looks good for him too. Voidra on the way up. We'll see where it takes this past the mid game, but at the current point of speaking, looks like Trap might just start running away with this game number 4. And I mean, if we win this, it's a hard road back to victory then from Solus, so yeah, let's see, let's see. That one Overlord trying to escape away. As we are just going to be having our next coming down on the third base. Just getting that set up, a second Stargate coming through. Rest of our lings out of the far right. Oracle coming in is going to get a couple of drone kills. So 2 drones going down. Going to grab a third. I mean, again, just drones dropping from Solar all game long. Usually you're meant to overtake the Protoss on workers at like 37, 38. And he's still 5 workers behind, 42 to 47. And he's got a counter on the third base, which might get the Adepts, but I don't think you get the third. Because this Void Ray is going to get rid of too many lings before you can actually get the damage done on that. So, even then, it's not like Solar is really getting much of a catch-up right now. Couple more Void still coming in. Robot Facility Forge coming through as well. We're not going to have that Rotron of Solar finishing in a few moments' time. All of our extra Overlords are still just building up. Void Ray going to go in after those Zerglings. We have a couple of those probes chased away, a couple of workers going down. Gonna go jump on a couple of these batteries, and batteries are now taking a bunch of damage as well. And as more of those probes continue to drop, 1 or 2 more still being picked away at. Okay, you finally get some damage done here as Solar. As Trap's just been building those double Stargate Voids, Solar's just getting ready to push. Ling, Roach, Queen on 46 workers. Can it work after it took him so long to even get to 46 workers? Well, guess we'll find out sooner rather than later, right? It's a small map, you're going to hit very quickly, but the problem with the map, even though it's small, it's very choked up for pushing into. So this might be a problem that Solar meets pushing into this choke. We'll see if you can make it work. Void's going to start on the Queens. Honestly, there's not that many Queens. And that's concerning because that means the Voids aren't going to have much trouble. Okay, there's a few more Queens on the bottom, so I was going to say 3 Queens on the left didn't seem like a lot. Yeah, some more Queens on the bottom making this a little bit better. Cannon's not holding on very long. The Biles have done a good job there. New batteries in the back, though, and we haven't had a super battery yet, right? So that is still to be used. Just going to see the super battery activate. Honestly, it doesn't last very long, though. Has Trap got a potential hold all here, guys? Is he just going to lose the third base? And it's basically Void Rays versus the world at the moment with no batteries to help them against those Queens. It's going to be tough, right? There's 1 battery in the far back right, but that's only going to last so long. Yeah, the third Nexus is going to go down at the very least, so... Bit of a shame. We've got the unit tab open again and not the production tab, so we have no idea what's on the way from Trap. I think Solar is just about going to get through here and break him now. Yeah, 2 more batteries on the back there, which aren't even powered by anything, right? Trap doesn't realize that he needs to cancel those for some money back, but... Yeah, maybe it just doesn't make a difference. He's so heavily supply blocked, he can't warp in anything else anyway. Could that guess build defense on the natural? An Immortal comes in. It's an Immortal showing up to join the party, but it looks as though Solar is still just going to have a bit too much. Really felt like Trap was just missing anything on the ground to slow down the ground army. Like, there was stacked defense, but otherwise it was just like purely Void Rays. I feel like usually there's at least a couple gateway units to just help buffer and slow it down that little bit. And these Voids just never really got a chance to really take on the Queens, so once the stacked defenses were going down because the Ravagers just ran right up to them and got rid of them right away, the Voids just didn't have the support they needed to take on the Queens. Now we get to this point here as Solar about to finish up a lair. I mean, Trap's trying to get into a Disruptor. Those Biles need to be dodged. And there's a new super battery on this natural expansion. So finally this Queen count is going to be worked away at. Trap trying to hold the natural. If he holds the natural, is this a playable game as Ling's going to slip into the main? Possibly. Like, it depends if he could do maybe some counter-attacking damage, because obviously at this stage Solar can obviously just go home and drone up massively too. So if he was to hold, maybe there's a chance, but I mean, even just holding is a difficulty right now. And now Solar is obviously killing probes and droning at home, and Trap is going to hold. But down 20 workers, army supply about even. I guess no Queens on the map right now. We're going to start building a Spire to make sure you have anti-air against these Voids. And Trap has a lot to get done to get back to where he'd want to be to play this game out. Queen's just going to go and fight these Voids. I mean, there's already so many new Queens at home. Solar's just kind of ready for round 2, honestly. He knew that the only threat here was going to be the Void Rays. So he just made sure he was making Queens at home, make sure he has units to defend if those Queens get aggressive, or if those Void Rays get aggressive. Oracle will find an empty mineral line, though. It's fantastic, going to kill a bunch of drones. Empty of defenses, of course. Third base not going to be established. Kills a Void Ray here, too. Now these Disruptors being surrounded. Will actually hit 2 of the Ravagers, but the Immortal dies. I think these Disruptors will just die as well, right? Trap losing what little ground forces he had teched up into. And now he's going to start losing probes as well. I mean, a Zealot warps in. Probes just keep dropping. Trap GGs, and Solar ties it up 2-2. Now in this best of 7. And just tell you guys and pretend that I'm not eating. Just be like, oh, guys, I want to run ads. And then just eat in the ad break and not tell you guys I've got food. But instead, I let you guys not watch ads. Alright, Romanticide for our 5th map. Another fun one, big one. Has Solar ever been in this strong of a shape? Yeah, I think so. How was the Mario vs. Cure series worth going back to watch? Yeah, it was a really good TVT. Really good TVT. Yeah, I think Solar's been in this kind of a position in the past. Like, Solar was absolutely like the Zerg to beat for a while. Back in, I think, 2016 was when he really peaked. Let's see. His last couple of years have been like disappointing, like round of 4s and stuff. 2019 too. You go back to like 2016, 2015, 2014. Like 2014 he won 2 championships, Dream Hacks. 2015 he won some Dream Hacks. 2016 he won an SSL, and he got top, some good finishes, a 2nd place in an SSL as well. And then in 2017, Home Story Cup top 2. He's won championships, It's been a while, actually. I look at Solar's results. I'm kind of surprised that it's just all like round of 8, not much more. Yeah, gonna be top 2 here. The thing is, Solar always looks like this, though, guys. Like, I always feel like Solar shows up and looks really good, only to like go to GSL and just flop out in the group stage. And it's like, oh well. And everyone's like, well, yeah, he lost to like some really good players, but it's like, yeah, but look at who he was beating online in the lead up to that. Stargate in the main base from Trap to start us off on. Romanticide, a nice large standard map expected here. Feeling it's just going to go and jump on top of those rocks to dealing some damage. Stargate going to be finishing soon, as we do have the Warp Gate coming in as well. It's about halfway done at the moment. I'm just going to be having the Stargate finishing to rally out the first unit. Looks like he's going to rally a Void Ray onto the Overlord, and that's exactly what's going to happen for us to get this started. There's less lag IRL, so micro is more intense. Well, I mean, there's no difference to playing online versus offline, as long as you're on your home server, right? Like, if you play a tournament in Korea, you're playing on the same connection as if you're playing at home. So, you don't have offline servers. There was a while we had tournament servers for some events. Some events had tournament servers, and we had to have... When you went to compete, you got given like a special login and stuff, and it's a pain in the ass because nobody has their hotkeys set up, so everyone has to spend the first hour of practice getting all the hotkeys right. Some smart people brought their hotkeys on a USB stick and loaded it into the new account, but yeah. But even then, it was still like, it was a local server so that it couldn't be infiltrated by people like trying to join lobbies. Like, it was still hosted on a, actually, I don't know how that worked. Maybe it was hosted like locally, but I don't know if it was just like a tournament server still just within Europe somewhere, you know? I think it was Oracle to follow up that Void, and yeah, it does okay until he stuck around a bit too long and maybe took some extra Spore Crawler shots he didn't need to. But he turns that into one more drone at the end anyway, so 3 drones, Oracle gets out. Not bad. I mean, remember how much that Oracle got done last time around. The Oracle was a massive pain in the ass the entire time. It was a massive pain in the booty the entire time. Is just going to see the Lings here going to run away. The Void Ray coming through. 2-2. All tied up. Best of 7, guys. Winner of this gets onto match point. There are only 3 maps at most left in this event. I'm glad we're getting good finals out of it because, like I say, some of the playoffs, some of the round of 8 specifically was really quite uninteresting. We had great semifinals, and so far we're having great third place in finals matches too, so living up to the hype at the end of the day. It's like the Starcraft case. You usually either have really good groups and like a terrible playoffs, or like a really good round of 8 and terrible finals, or you have like really good finals but terrible playoffs until the finals and stuff. So it kind of feels like we've been seeing that a little bit. Eight drones going down as now the Void Ray showing up to put some pressure on, dealing some damage. Here comes Ling's gonna try and counterattack. I just like what Trap's been able to do this game. The damage he's putting now definitely adding up a bit. That 4th hatch now of Solo is going to get finished. I mean, 74 drones. Spire about to be done. Let's see what he does with the Spire. Infestation Pit's coming up pretty quickly behind it as well. I'm just a little bit worried after the last time with the Spire. It just felt like he didn't really achieve that much, right? Like, he went mutas, and it really felt like those mutas didn't do a lot. And I know that game got very crazy and got very long and close. I just feel like the setup could have been so much better for Solo, because, like I say, the mutas just really didn't do much at all. He's going to go straight to Corruptors this time against the Void Rays. Some would call this crazy, but I know we've seen a couple of people try and make this work. To much success. I'm trying to think. I feel like the last time we saw someone do this, we kind of laughed, and at the end of the day, they lost, and we're like, well, duh. They made Corruptors against Void Rays. I mean, a 3rd Stargate already on the way up, too, kind of suggests as well that you're going to have enough Void Rays here to really push back Corruptors, so... honestly, I'm not the biggest fan of it right now. I'm very happy for Solo to show me exactly how these Corruptors are going to take the fights against the Void Rays to make it worthwhile having them. You know, if anyone can prove me wrong and to, you know, show me how it's done, I put my faith in Solo for that. Corruptors will move through the center, going to go jumping on 2 Voids already. 1 Void going down, other Voids taking some hits as well. Was come in, one of those Corruptors already falling, and yeah, like I said, it already feels as though, like, you know, Trap, he's on his way to Flux Veins too. It feels like he's just so well set up against this. Like, I'm still waiting to see how Solo utilizes this army composition to great effect, you know, to be useful, to be effective. Queen's gonna have to fall back. One of them gets shot down pretty quickly. Rare Spy about halfway done. The few Corruptors still coming in. The Ling's gonna try and run through into that 3rd base. Cannons very quickly there to turn a few of the Zerglings around, push those away. I mean, Grey Spy coming up. I like that trap gets that Temple Archives, obviously Archons. Maybe even Storm could be great here. You know, look at what you've got and you look at what you're against. Storm, especially when there's melee upgrades coming through, right? It's very link focused on the ground. Storm would be fantastic, but even just Archons would be fantastic. Either or, really. Just gonna see a couple of these Brutes continue to morph in. Links to the right side, gonna grab a probe and just gonna have our Prism moving around. Just gonna see these Lings being picked away at as, yeah, obviously Trap just clearing the way to access his 5th hatchery now, or its 5th Nexus, sorry, so opening up that space as needed. Sorry, pushed my mouse and it did a bit of minimizing. Apologies, guys. Just shoved it off to the bottom of my screen. Go up to Broodlord. It's gonna be coming in as a composition still. Explain the diver. You guys excited about the swimming? It's just the default background on my PC. I've never changed it. I don't care. I never look at my wallpaper because I always have stuff open, you know. Voids in the main are gonna go wild and they're gonna go for the hive. They're gonna go for the corruptors. I mean, parasite bombs on those void rays though, and they're taking damage as they will recall away in the corner. So they get the chance to recall out of there, but yeah, I mean, you're just going to see 15 drones going down. I mean, Solar definitely took damage, right? I mean, obviously, you lose a few voids there as Trap, but the damage you deal, I think, is worth it. I think he's very happy with that. And now Solar's got to rebuild the lair, rebuild the hive. That means he can't rebuild any Vipers for a little while here as well, so he's going to be slowed down there for sure. As the Lings are going to go in, they are going to catch that Archon, so the Archon will fall. Just gonna see our Zealots running from the right-hand side, going after those Spine Crawlers, and try and swipe their way through these. A couple of Spines already dropped, and the Lings showing up, and we're all gonna have those Zealots continuing to be in a bit of trouble. The Queen's continuing over too. Yeah, just gonna have our Zealots all cleaned out. As Mothership carriers and Storm comes through, Trap really is just entering the super late game, and I really just don't know what Solar's plan is. I mean, I see Neural Parasite, I see Infestors. Let's see what he can do as this game goes late. I mean, obviously Solar kind of invited this kind of gameplay, and the Corruptors meant he couldn't really do anything to kill Trap before now, so yeah, we've played into this moment. Let's see how it continues. Boys gonna grab themselves an Overlord. Nice to pick off. That's gonna see our Void Rays staying around that bottom side. Plus 1 flyer carapace coming through. Again, Storm is gonna be finishing up soon. Plus 2 flyer attack coming in. Plus 3 attack as well. All the upgrades are just gonna make life for Solar that little bit tougher. And faster production still continuing. I mean, that's obvious. I mean, Solar's obviously very, you know, persistent on what he wants to do here. What do you think might be an issue for Solar? It's not like he's had like 6 bases, right? He's just been on 5 base as Protoss gets to 5 base. He's not been that kind of typical base ahead or anything, so that's something to kind of keep in mind too. Like, Solar doesn't have like a massive bank to rebuild off of after a fight. So big run by top right side. If your Ling's gonna go and stop Trap from getting too out of hand with the bases, although Trap's also going to take a 6 base at the 6 o'clock. So that bottom side base now coming online gives him another way to really just establish economy somewhere else that Soul has to maybe try and deny. So I see those Lings wrapping around. Adept is going to go down. A couple of probes. It's going to be falling as well. He's going to go running in. I'm just going to try and wrap around those Archons. The Archons are going to be wrapped around. 2 of them go down already. And just going to be seeing that Nexus canceling the upper side. Wards come in, picking off an Overlord. I think it's safe to say these links did absolutely zero. We've moved to the production tab, by the way, or the units tab, by the way, guys. So we now don't know what's going to be building. We're just going to play the guessing game again. I guess there's not much else building at this stage, just kind of replacing stuff with carriers and so on. It's being kept away from that upper right-hand side. The mothership is just going to be coming around, is going to be heading down the right side, and a charge of changelings coming on through as we settle down into this. And these changelings, I mean, it just takes so long to A-click them all down, right? It's like a lot of APM it takes for Trap to get rid of that, so they do have something of a role here. Obviously, banks are building, bases are mining, and this game has potential to go long. As you get a pick off in the top. And Ultras just popped up in the unit tab, guys, so Ultras do actually have a role at this stage of the game because the Ultras are really good at zoning out the High Templar and keeping the High Templar back, and if the carriers want to kill off the Ultras, that's time where the Corruptors, etc. can take advantage and kill carriers and stuff, right? So the Ultras do have a role, and actually adding in 3-4 Ultras at this stage of the game is pretty normal. Obviously, that first Ultra just ran into a ton of cannons, so that didn't really do too much. Our Overseers and Corruptors still joining up together, and main Trap just has so many bases. I mean, obviously, this comes down to how the fight looks, right? If the fight goes the way of Trap, it's going to be tough for Solo to win. If it goes evenly, they both have a chance to rebuild. Maybe that even favors Solo a bit on a faster rebuild. Yeah, I mean, it can really just go either way depending on how the fight goes, basically. Is how this is going to be. +3 flyer attack is on the way in. Going to be finishing soon. The +3 flyer carapace is also not far from coming through either. Well, I say that, it's just got started, but those upgrades are still coming in is what I'm trying to say for Solar. What's the point of the Mothership if the Zerg has 8 Overseers in their army? The Mothership still provides cloaking to units in the back, so a lot of the time the Overseers don't get close enough to provide the detection. And it means that even if, you know, looking ahead of time, you don't necessarily know where the units are positioned beneath that Mothership, so while you then do see it as the fight begins, you've not had time to position your own units in response to where the High Templar, etc. are. So there is a lot of usage in it. It makes it much scarier for the Zerg to fight into this army, know where storms are coming from, and know where he needs to set his units up to respond to. So with these Broodlords starting to make a bit of a push, we recall from Trap to the top right, so he's just going to go counterattack this base. Wow, so he's very happy to give up his own base to just go and deny bases of Solar, apparently. I find that fascinating. He just said, yeah, you know what, you have this base, whatever. I'm just going to come up here, fight spores and stuff, and well, now this army of Solar got here, so I'm not sure if this really came around as planned from Trap. So the Disruptor goes through, doesn't quite land. Unfortunately, that's going to be the dead Mothership, of course. That's the Yoink going off successfully. Mothership denied. Let's see if Trap values enough to rebuild it. He does. Instantly rebuilds. Isn't that hilarious? DT show up into this spore spine forest and actually get a few drones. Just sneaking around the edges there. A gap in the defense. from Solar. It's going to come on the bottom side. Next is going to get cancelled. Pylon goes down as well. I see a little bit of that Lingbane Ultra. Going to go around the left. Yeah, I mean, so much of this. I mean, you get all these moves and stuff. You got to deflect and stuff. But the real difficult part of this is when both players get into a position where they both think the fight is good and they fight. That's where the real test comes. That's when the spell casting comes into play, and that's where these armies are going to fight each other, and that's where this game gets decided. So, while these run-bys here, denying a base here is nice. Overall, when you look at the banks, at the moment, that's just not going to be the decisive part of this game. It's nice to slow your opponent down. It's the right idea. You're also making these moves hoping that you can posture elsewhere and get your opponent's army out of position to take what you think is a better fight. Actually gets a kill on this Nexus, so no build there. Solo with 8k, 10k in the bank, by the way, has a massive amount of rebuild potential. I love it when you drop in a storm to get rid of the changelings instead of just A-clicking them down. I feel that, man, after watching those previous changelings run around for what felt like an eternity as the A-clicks from the carriers came through. Up to Brood Viper. Moving around the left a little bit. Gonna see those Lings running up. Archon's gonna come in. Ling's taking some damage already. And the Voiders come through, gonna cancel off that Hatcher, and just gonna be having our Nexus at forward position coming in as well. So, I mean, Travis had a bit of a duel trying to get that Nexus up. If he gets that base up, he actually has a base up over Solar, because Solar does not have the bottom left corner. Hey, what's up, Locky175? Thank you so much for the 19-month resub on the Prime, as we are just settled down, waiting for the next big moves. I mean, these armies are kind of converging onto the bottom left-hand side of the map. Is it possible we see a fight around here? A little bit of harassment up right. Lingbane not going to get through the cannons, though. I mean, that is just a static defense standoff in the upper right-hand corner. Voids coming in, these carriers firing, just going to see those Spore Crawlers in some trouble. I was going to see a couple of feedbacks already going down. Infestors getting hit by that big Disruptor shot. Does hit on a couple of Infestors too. The rest of these Broodlings continue to give chase. High Templar continuing to go down. And Trap does not like being there. And he's going to recall to the top. He's going to use the Mothership for the recall in. And he's going to at the very least deny this base for the moment. Now, what does Solo do about it? He's so far out of position. That fight was just about starting to go his way as well. Trap, do you want to fight that side defense, or are we just going to recall out after killing a base? He ain't going to waste any time. He's just going to recall out of trouble. So he did not want to risk anything in that situation. He was very happy to say, nope, 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 this is okay. Let's just back on away from this. Let's just settle it down over here. Gonna neural this Archon after what felt like an endless fight was taking place. He's just not doing a lot of damage against all the upgrades of his opponent. Finally, the Spine Crawl is joining as it comes out of neural. It doesn't need to. They don't need to be A-clicked on it, right? It was an interesting moment or two. Archon's usually that tanky with full shield upgrades. Yeah, absolutely. That's what it is. It's there's like full shield upgrades in play, and the queens don't have any missile upgrades, right? So the queens just have no upgrades versus full upgrades. So yeah, usually it's a bit different than that, but usually you see queens fighting archons like earlier in the game, you know. So it's going to activate. This hatchery will be cancelled. Again, Trap really has kept Solar from taking bases, so Trap has got a bank lead. Solar currently has 0 gas income, by the way, so I think the only gas he has left available to him are the bases that he hasn't taken yet, or the bases that are currently dead. Not that it really matters, because these two aren't fighting, so... I mean, guys, this game could go on another 20 minutes if they just keep posturing around, killing a base at a time, and refuse to take larger fights. Because they have the money to rebuild, you know, their armies multiple, you know, at least a couple times over. So even when we get one big fight, that might not end the game, and then we might go for another big fight. A little bit of a ground army here is actually having some success. Meanwhile, Banelings are going to go and shut down the stack defense, allowing the Lings to show up for this base. Oh, the Void Ray is up at that top side as well. They're going to fly through for that base again. They're going to stop for a few Spore Crawlers right away. I mean, the Queens are nearby. This army split from Trap is a little bit adventurous because you are risking losing a lot very easily. He's going to fall back to his stack defenses, though, and just defend over here for the moment. Carrier going to get the bottom left base. That's a base you've just not been able to take really as Solar, so it is an issue. I mean, while Trap hasn't been able to hold the forward base, Solar hasn't had the left base. Oh, there goes a mothership. Insta-kill. Mothership did find some value. That's a couple of feedbacks that just didn't, or a couple of abducts that didn't go anywhere. Bungle on the High Templar, and again, just minus spellcasting trade-outs here. Archon goes down. Still going to see the Void Ray carrier force go around this bottom side of the map, trying to go elsewhere. Trying to make a bit of a change right now as we see a few more Infestors on the way out. A couple of Corruptors coming through. Spores on the way up as well. That's going to go for a run in. One's going to go get those cannons, so... Gonna get a couple of those already, and if a couple of them do start to drop down. Cannons being denied at the moment. Queen's gonna start spreading some creep out. Neurals on these Archons, but they recalled, so they actually get out of the Neurals by a recall. I mean, there's a few fun interactions happening around the map. I do wonder at what point does Trap want to give up some workers? Because he's at the position right now, I guess, where he must be starting to mine out. Like, 61 probes still. Seems like a lot. I guess he's got the top right base still going here, and I guess he's got that central base to still mine from. I guess in the next 5 minutes or so, though, he will get to a stage where he can trade out workers pretty successfully. Or pretty easily, and then he's obviously going to have a larger army supply on the map, so I guess Trap will not be looking for a fight before that happens. That Templar wanted to move forward, but will not be able to. I will not be able to find anything on that. Going to tag up the Brood Lords with a Revelation. Spores and Spines coming through. Going to see these Queens going to go in after that Archon, so Archon taking some hits. Almost 30 minutes here in this game 5 of this best of 7, just tied up 2-2. Everything in play for a $3,000 difference between first and second place in this event. We are continuing to slowly chip through bits and pieces of each other. Just, I mean, Solo gets the bottom left base up. He hadn't had that for a while, and the banks is just massive as well. Like, the amount of trading that's actually happened has been fairly limited. Oh, some units going down from Trap. I believe that was, well, he just rebuilds 4 carriers, so maybe up to 4 carriers going down there. Some good abducts in. His Solar is going to get on top of this base once again. Trap really has struggled to keep this base alive. It's not being able to mine super comfortably from it throughout. Overall, by the way, resources lost 27k to Solar, 33k to Traps. Trap has lost more overall in this game. I love this super battery. He's literally keeping this mining as long as possible. just get as many resources out of it as you can before you have to give it up. What? Sola's just gonna give it up. He's gonna let it live. It worked. Oh my goodness. I mean, Sola just probably didn't realize he's gonna send some lings for it now, but for a moment or two longer, that keeps on mining his trap. Disruptor gets neural, but it already fired its shot, so the Nova was in Trap's favor, and it does get rid of the Infestor that neurals it. That's a hilarious situation I've not seen before. It controls Disruptor, but the Disruptor doesn't control the Nova. They're out the bottom left. I mean, as you lose the center base, you're going to deny the bottom left base. You basically stop each other, you know, again, mining that final base on the map that each player is meant to get. The Disruptor shot not quite going to land again. It's kind of weird because it feels like so many of... I mean, this is a good pickoff route on some carriers, but it feels like, is it influential right now when there's so much bank for both of these players? Solo is once again at 0 gas income, though, so I guess he's kind of mined out of gas on the top of the map, and it really is just the bottom left base that he needs to mine gas from now. Not that he's, you know, low on gas at the moment. Just something to look at as... You can see our Void's activating, kind of moving through here a little bit. Intercept's getting caught in the fungal growth as well. Intercept is going to fly on through and just going to go after all of those spores. I mean, there's some bigger trade-outs here, right? If nothing else, even just the stack defense going down from Solar is expensive as DTs are hit by Ling Bane. Trap instantly warps in 10 more Zealots. He knows that eventually his gas bank is the one that's going to be drained, you know, more than the mineral bank, so warping in Zealots now when they can still be useful is a much better use of minerals than trying to warp in Zealots later when it's a late game army and it's just army versus army. At least now the Zealots can slow down mining on a base and so on. Yeah, this hatchery trade out a bit. Maybe force a bit more of a reaction from Solar to the top side as Trap falls back himself after denying the bottom left-hand hatchery. Happy to keep that from mining at the moment. So let's continue through and just going to be having our additional warp-ins top right. I mean, Trap really wants to make something happen through that top side, but I mean, he's warping in a bunch of Archons. That's probably the right idea, and Battery's going to keep this DTO2 alive, so that's just a waste of Zerglings for Solar, unfortunately. I see both of their banks are kind of depleting at the same rate, right? 7k, 7k gas. I think gas really is the more important one to look at. The only thing to think of is that Solar does have more army in his army right now. So Trap to actually, especially if he trades out probes, to max out, Trap's still going to have to spend some extra money while Solar's already there. That is the thing that should happen at some point of this game, is these 5 Archons are just going to make life very difficult until the Neuro Parasite comes in. Turns out Archon on Archon is pretty good for you as the, Zerg. Just going to get through these spines again, just a large investment, though, to try and take down that base, which does have gas mining on it, though, right? Like, it's the sort of base you want to deny. It's got important stuff available to it. And this Ultra just doesn't do anything. Holy crap. That Ultra just got melted by 3 Archons. They're going to start doing to the next Ultra, too. Oh, are we going to have a larger fight here? Revelation goes down. I mean, obviously, Solar wants a presence here because he wants to say, I can protect my base. Trap wants a presence here because he believes he can maybe push on in. Carrier's moving back through the top side. Sling Ultra continues in. Pylon's being cleared out as well. Just going to be seeing the extra DTs morphing now into Archons. Getting all of that up and ready to go. 5k gas from Trap, 6.6k from Solar. I gotta say, I feel like Solar is continuing to maintain a bit of a better position here. The only thing I will say is that that base in the center that Trap hasn't mined from, that is a rich Vespene Geyser. So the time he did mine from it means that he did get a lot of the gas from that base. But if Solar's just trading better anyway, it just might not matter, right? Then we are going to continue dueling here. Round after round, basically. That's where we currently stand in this. So just gonna grab a quick drink. Thirsty work trying to kill the Protoss. Gotta stay hydrated, guys. There you go, and again, I think it's really big, the trap. I mean, I can't believe Solar's had so much difficulty keeping this bottom left base alive. It makes sense, though, because to defend the bottom left, you open up the rest of the map. Like, then the rest of the map is easily attacked as a trap. At the end of the day, Solar might end up camping on that one bottom left side base. Camping out there and looking around that as a Fungal goes down, grabbing a few units. Disruptor's firing. Not catching too much just yet. We're going to turn back around as this Broodlord is in some trouble. First Brood going down immediately. You're going to have these Archons. High Templars just walking into this. Trap is losing a lot, and Solar is once again clearing out pretty effectively. I really don't like this for Trap. His gas bank is depleting so quickly. Gonna move everything down this bottom side. Archon, Void Ray, Carrier. 36 minutes of Protoss versus Zerg at the moment here. Try and take it to match point. 5 more carriers on the way. Trap has 3,200 gas in the bank, guys. He really is getting to like the last legs of this army. He needs to start winning some fights. Like, he's just being picked apart, quite frankly. Spores coming around as, again, I mean, Solar just knows deny this base and you're going to stay in a golden spot and he's going to deny it. Like I say, it's weird because Solar's like he's almost mined out, but actually he still has the bottom left base to mine if he can ever get there. Getting there is the issue, is Trap is just long distance mining this base at the moment. Solar has to start turning around because the army of Trap's moving to the upper right and Solar wants to defend those top bases. These few spores are kind of found out of position. There used to be creep spread there, but not any longer than the spores. Just didn't quite get that memo. Let's look at these neurals out. This hatchery going down. A few of these drones being picked away at. Just going to see that Spine Crow also in a little bit of trouble here. Just kind of want to go flying towards the upper right-hand side. I think want to aim for those carriers. I mean, if you want to take a fight, that is. But do you want to take a fight as Solar? I think you're kind of okay being the slower player. Like I say, you've been trading well. Look at the bank. 6.8k gas still for Solar. Trap now less than 2k gas to go. He has so many minerals. So at some point, Trap's got to spend the minerals on something. Cannons, batteries, more Zealots. Remember, there's a time you walked into some Zealots. I was like, that's a good way to use your minerals. The problem is now we're getting to a point where Zealots just don't really do that much, right? So, look at, this is kind of funny, right? He just wants to long-distance mine the rich Vespene gas. He knows how much of an issue it is not having it. Voids are going to go cancel the bottom left base. Again, Solar not allowed that, but at this rate, he just really doesn't need it. 7,000 resources lost in his favor. And Trap doesn't have the center base still. So Solar doesn't need to rush into that. Solar is running low on minerals. I'm talking a lot about gas banks. But actually, the mineral bank of Solar is kind of depleting a little bit. 4k left there. So more than anything, he might actually just need minerals from the bottom left-hand hatchery. Upside hatchery is down as well, by the way, at 12 o'clock, which we've seen some fights over multiple times. Trap also going to take the chance to deny this base as Solar kind of moving through as though he wants to fight this. He's going to start going in. Thing is, killing interceptors doesn't matter to Trap because Trap is just like, well, I've got minerals for days, you know. But losing those carriers, those are the sort of things that you don't get to rebuild now as Trap. This big fight starting to break out. Storm's coming down, but actually Solar doing a great job of disengaging from this. But Trap is still just chasing this down. Fungal Growth Star coming through, and those voids and carriers are coated in green goo. That's going to slow them from advancing. Everybody's losing a lot of supply. I mean, those voids are heavily hurt. The ultras have cleaned out what's on the ground. It's just this Sky Army left. Here come the Corruptors trying to fight. Scared of the Void Rays still, though. Rightfully, they should be. Solar supply blocked as he's been losing so many overseas. He's actually straight up can't rebuild. Solar's got so much money he can't rebuild with. And if he loses his production, all that money's still in the bank. Doesn't matter at all. Solar, he gets on supply block, makes some units right now, makes some Corruptors. I imagine that's what he wants here, is he's going to re-engage in. 30 Corruptors to the 9 Voids. Fungal's coming down again. The Ultras show up. They're like, please attack me. Don't attack our Corruptors. take us down instead. We're going to start target firing down carriers. One carrier down, two carriers down. Solar's supply is in the gutter. He's got no minerals left. Trap has no gas left. But these Corruptors might just get rid of the last few carriers. Another fungal growth comes down. The Infestors doing whatever they can. Can Solar get the last few units here? The carriers just aren't killing anything very quickly. Zealots across the map are going to be an absolute menace. There's some Brutalors that will try and respond to that. That Void Ray activates Prismatic. A new round of Void Rays show up from Trap, as he is going to come on in here. They get fungled away for the moment, though. The Infestors on the ground doing whatever they can. The Corruptors still trying to fight. That last carrier will finally fall. But there's 10 Void Rays left in this game, and Solar doesn't have any minerals left over. Trap has found the fight to get it done. Yeah, I mean, Solar just has these Corruptors. I just don't think he can't build anything else. He's got no minerals. In the end of the day, the mineral bank of Solar was just a little short. He's got that bottom left base mining, but there's no way that gets left mining, right? Fungal in the range of spores. I mean, Solar has the right idea. He's still got a chance to make this work. Has he got another fungal? He does. Corruptors are like, please, let's go. Trap going to start recalling some of the Void Rays back. Ultras are getting cornered in by Zealots. Voids are going to catch them too. Solar 56 supply, but Trap just has that much more. Wow. What a fight. Massively efficient fight for Trap. As Solar felt like he was just running for so long without dealing damage. It looks like Trap's going to get it done. I really liked what how Solar was going for Solar. Trap, look at the excitement on his face. I really liked how he was going for Solar for a lot of that game, but as always, it's the big fight that's going to decide it at the end. Whew. Let's see. Game number 6. Can Trap close this tournament now? Or can Solar fight back? Find out now on WardiTV. Good finals, to be fair. We've had a bit of everything in this series. Long games, some short aggressive games on either side, Glaives, Stargates. Tell you what, it always feels weird when you come out of a long game like that and all of a sudden you have to start talking about, like, you know, the builds again and what these guys are going to start doing and stuff like that. This is the grand finals, guys. Winner of this is your champion. 7,000 plus, well, $7,500 plus dollars in their bank accounts. This is it. This is what it's come down to. This final match. Solar break through and win a big tournament again. Was Trap gonna fight back? And take this game 6 and close it out without needing a game 7. I just second guess, like $4,500. It's like a $3,000 difference basically between the two. Drone's going up to the gold base, which Solar has taken early in the game, so Solar going to mix it up a little bit. Says, you know what, let's take the gold base. Let's go Solar, says Crowbar Barney on the 20-month resub on the Prime. Hell yeah. I kind of agree with you, mate. I think it's pretty exciting right here. To see what Solar might come out with. Especially on the gold. Gold definitely makes this game even more interesting to gain. Every game, this is a really good final, right? Where every game is just turning out to be so different. Each map is being used in different ways and stuff as well. You get 8 minerals a trip on the gold base, so it's a pretty significant difference. Most importantly, you get to a stronger economy sooner, right? So you don't need as many drones to get as much eco. So you can cut drones earlier, hit that eco sooner, and start producing units earlier, right? Gold on this map is abusable, though. And with a robo coming up, I'm very interested as to what Trap's actual plan is going to be here. Very, very intrigued as to what he wants to lead us into. Like, does he want to go for, like, an Immortal all-in? Is this just going to be for some Prism harassment? Feels like to all-in... Oh, a Robo Bay! I was going to say, to all in into a gold base is pretty brave, because obviously they've got that boosted economy. They can cut drones earlier and make units sooner to deal with that. The Robo Bay typically means we're going to see some disruptor drops with that prism speed, so let's see if that's indeed what we get into here. And that's a very unique way of going about this. I like it, though. I like it. I think that's pretty fun. Ooh, I'm kind of excited to see how this plays out. Zound build? Yeah, there is that build that's kind of a couple of disruptors, one Colossus, then you push aggressively. That still is all in, of course. I just wonder if, again, if like I say, if all in is really the idea here from Trap, or if this is just a way to get up to a third base, because that's completely possible too. You can just go to 3 bases off of this. Prison speed is now on the way out. Those couple of adepts going to drop down in the corner as the Ling's taking some damage. And the Stalker just going to keep on pinging away at that Overlord, so hopefully taking some shots. As we do have the other units continuing around, doing whatever they can. Just going to see the second disruptor coming through. Of course, once that double disruptor set up, that's when you go back home, pick those up, and you start dropping. It'd be interesting to see what he does with the adepts if he leaves them behind like this. Just coming in on the other side of the gold base, going to get 3 workers, right? Oh, just 2. Missed the last shot on the extra one, but a couple of drones going down. Now these Lings are going to get surrounded, only for the adepts to shade away. Going to have to be surrounded again, but the Prism's going to redirect and go pick those adepts up, so it does save them. These few adepts will begin to unload now, so just getting those unloaded, getting all of that ready. Just going to be seeing the left finishing. So many gates coming up with one Colossus. This is going to be the Zound build. Okay. This is all in, guys. Trap needs to do some damage with these disruptors to slow down the Zerg just that little bit. And then he's going to hit with this big, strong attack with one Colossus backing it up as well. He's going to move out toward the third, but okay, he starts a second Colossus and extends thermal lance. Wow. Maybe he's going to go with 2 Colossi? Disruptor shot lands on a Queen, but obviously it gets transfused back up. Don't get a kill there. Prism is low. 3 drones, 8 Lings, and an Overlord dead. I mean, none of that from the disruptors. They've been defended very well, so well handled so far by Solar. Is now Trap going to make that third? I wonder if he just feels like he's not done. I mean, he's still going to have a lot of sentries. He's warping in more, so it still looks like Trap is going to push. Probably will still commit to the push at some stage of this. Disruptor shot. Just going to go hunting for whatever it can find. A single Ravager. Anything helps, right? Is Solar 51 drones and just pumping out units. He definitely knows what's on the way or what he's expecting to come. I mean, 44 workers. Trap hasn't made any probes ready for that third base just yet, so they are not wrong. Solar's not wrong in what he's expecting here. This is looking to be aggressive despite the third base. If Solar can hold this attack, guys, we are going to a Game 7. Moving to the center of the map, going to be making our way along with some run-bys. I mean, obviously the run-by is slowing Trap down a bit. We are going to see a moment here where Solar's kind of around the top side, was kind of looking as though he wasn't quite sure which way to go. Disruptor shot fires, Roaches taking a little bit of damage. And obviously good force fields, but the Ravagers are going to break that down. The Colossi trying to micro where they can. Needs to save these Disruptors. Another Disruptor shot in this game would be amazing. Has to save the Colossus too, though. It doesn't feel as though Trap is getting enough done just yet. Now having to kite backward, he is getting a warping of Stalkers, and that's great because obviously it's not an easy position to save or to get a warping in because you're obviously under so much pressure from the Ravagers. And if those Ravagers are able to connect, it becomes kind of crazy. I mean, Trap's going to pull back those Colossi again. Prison! No, he doesn't get it, but the Disruptor shot goes too far as well. Trap, a moment of disaster. I mean, he loses a Colossus, and not just that, but really, I think, so important that he actually misses that Disruptor shot for Solar because it could have done so much damage there. Oh, no. I think that's it. I think we're going to a Game 7. I think we're going to a Game 7. Not much else to say, right? This looks as though we're just kind of done and dusted. Trap's army's going down. The follow-up behind that isn't brilliant. Oh, you know what? Maybe I spoke too soon because these Ravages are all that's really left. He's trying to dodge one more battle. The Colossus stays alive. Oh my god, Trap's still making something out of this. He's going into the main base with everything. What's he going to warp in? A couple sentries and zealots? Well, Ravages can, of course, break the force fields on the ramp. Maybe you still have time to get a lot done here, though. I mean, this is something, guys. This is absolutely something. I mean, Roach Ravager gets in a bit too easily, I think, for it to maybe make enough of a difference. Unless you're going to be seeing the Colossi pulling back. Roach Ravager is still pushing through. 10 drones went down, so that is something, remember. The only other thing to mention here is that, of course, Solar is on a gold base. And the one issue with the gold is it mines out faster than other bases. So, while he's had that boosted economy for now, he's not had the chance to get up a base just yet. And that maybe means that Trap can transition out of this. If he can hold this attack, and there is an attack coming his way right now, Trap just needs to hold and defend. It's not impossible to defend this. Like, it really is not. It is a possibility. It can happen, guys. It absolutely can happen. Let's see if just about able to make the difference here. Disruptor, Colossus dancing around. He doesn't have any batteries. I assumed he would have something defensive here ready to help him out. The Disruptor shot is going to hit his own Zealot, so that's not going to do it. So many more units on the way from Solar, who really is. I mean, Trap might even get away with giving up the third. 10 minutes in? Is there enough on the main and natural still to maybe make that a possibility? You can see the Disruptor try and take some shots, trying to figure out where to fire from. He needs just a Disruptor shot to really open up the rest of this attack. Still about double the army supply for Solar. Super Battery goes down. Stalker's getting caught in the ramp, though, and that means that they're just going to be going down too easily as well. There's the Disruptor shot that's needed for 3 Disruptors. 3 Ravagers, sorry. Sorry, I'm getting too excited to say the right unit names. Trap is holding, but he loses the third base, and Solar takes a hatchery behind this and starts to drone. I think Solar has the right idea for how to follow this up. He did what he needed to do. Solar just going to camp out the low ground. I mean, Trap is basically going to rely on Disruptors here to carry him through. I mean, as he breaks on down. I mean, honestly, like, Solar's economy probably was running low. But being able to get a new base up is massive, of course. And, yeah. Disruptor shots still are going to be one of the things to help you out a lot here. That Disruptor shot is huge, but he loses the Disruptor in the process. So, again, how much do you really gain from that? Problem is now, as well as a lot of Lings, if there was a second Colossus, and he is building one, an additional Colossus kind of goes a long way in this situation. Because you basically set up in a way that, you know, right now you don't have a lot to get rid of the Lings, so it's taking a while to get rid of the Lings each and every time. But if you have a second Colossus, those Lings die a bit faster. Maybe the Stalkers can make the difference on the Roach Ravager. 60 to 105 army supply in Solar's favor. And try and break down these rocks here. That's not a bad idea. There's a probe there, so it looks as though that's where Trap was thinking about taking a base. He did eat a couple of powers out. The Disruptor shot doesn't go off. The Colossus is so low. Goes down before he saves it. GG. We're going to Game 7. This tournament is going to have it all. A final map in the Grand Finals. I mean, it deserves it. This has been a fantastic final. And it was a good hold from Solar to bring us to this final map. Final map, Jagannatha. Let's see how this goes. As this probe trap is going to be coming across the map early to make the block. The drone kind of believed he was going to get the hatchery there too, so now Solar will move to the third and just be 15 minutes late or so. What do you guys think happens in game number 7? Not a bad map for queen attacks, roach attacks. Can Solar win a big tournament here? What's some, It's gonna be a tense game. It's gonna be a tense game right now. Match, gas and pool, gate, Nexus Cybercore. This game is gonna end up in a draw, you heard it here first. I mean, this is another map you could see play like Romanticide, right? Very long game, stuff like that. Definitely a possibility. Definitely an option. It's onto that natural Cybercore building up. Clean out a link here as you see the Twilight Council building, so already Trap is showing us something non-Stargate focused for this final game of the Grand Finals. Changing it up. When Glaives wants this series, he didn't 4-gate Glaives, right? He went 3-gate Glaives, which means you don't get the Robo with it. And you do kind of this adept pressure into an expansion stuff. He wasn't he does the game he actually ended up defending the all-in on Lightshade, right? Oh, this is going to be a Dark Shrine. Wow! Talk about cranking out the old builds. People don't usually do this anymore because everyone's just like, this isn't very good, you know? So, yeah, I mean, you go into this game, game number 7, Dark Shrine building from Trap. He's going to go Archon Drop. Archon Drop is just not really hurt. I say Archon Drop, I mean, it's actually just like super fast DTs, right? He doesn't have a Robo for the Archon Drop. It's just going to be DTs, which is weird, right? Really weird. Rotron is going to begin to build now. Gets that started. I mean, at the moment, no spores. And you know what I think this is a mind game of for Trap? I think the idea is you have Solar believe in its adepts, so Solar doesn't go for a spore right away, which is the correct read. It's sort of like, it's not a Stargate, but because it's like a super fast Dark Shrine, the spores aren't going to be there as early as they usually would be. Now, once spore starts to build, as these first steps move through, the only issue I have is those DTs warped on the bottom side of the map. If there was like a proxy pylon here or anything, it might have worked, but now the spores are just going to be up, and now I just wonder what the need of these DTs was. I mean, in a way, it gives you a third Nexus because Solar has no lair to counterattack this, and Trap's up like 9 workers, so you can't counterattack in as Solar. You can't be aggressive into this because of the DTs defensively. The DTs won't do much offensively, though, so you're not really going to harass the Zerg apart from the fact he had to make units blindly, assuming that this was going to be an Adept attack. So maybe it still kind of works out. Now you've got DTs and the units are out of position, which means that actually with units out of position, you can still do pretty well here. A DT finds a roach as the Adepts go down. Yeah, I mean, 4 drones killed. It's not nothing. And Trap does hold 54 workers to the 41. Like I say, you just can't attack as Solar. You can't be aggressive. Because, yeah. Because of the DTs. So is it just like, I mean, like I say, it's a very weird way to set up in this game. Now we're going to go Blinken +1, Immortal production starts. DT just comes in, just going to get rid of, again, 3 drones. Gets killed off. Into the main base we go. So Trap just going to trade these DTs out a bit. Nice movement to get 1 more worker. 6 drones killed. And keeping himself still ahead on workers all the way up to that 60 worker marker. like I say, really, I think really just cool mind game. Making it, you know, working around expectations of the Zerg and just hoping Solar plays into it. And it kind of, honestly, like, for how little the DTs did, I have to say it kind of works. And now Roach Ravager just keeps building. Obviously, Laren play now. Roach speed building up. Solar on 68 workers began in Evo Chambers. It looks as though he'll continue through. But a prison coming up from Trap, as Trap is going to go basically Immortal Archon, Link Stalker aggression into Roach Ravager. I mean, I like it for Trap, as these Lings take a lot of damage. Bah! Brilliant Force Fields gets a lot of Link kills. That is 4 Force Fields at the end, though, which is quite expensive. Here we go. I mean, this is the push. Oh no, Solar's teching up to Hydra Den and an Infestation Pit. That's the last thing you want to be spending money on right now. You've got to focus on surviving, especially after you've had a weak economy all game. You've got to focus on surviving here. You really, really do. Zen's going to move up this ramp. A couple of these Lings. He's going to be taking some damage. The War Prism is going to be under fire. And push back just a little bit. Robobay coming up, the extra gates and the +2 attack coming in. Gonna move back around through the middle, thinking about where we maybe want to go here as Trap. I mean, Trap's building into a Robobay and tech behind this. I just felt as though this was maybe a good moment for him. Army supplies are even, Solar is teching. I think it still is a good chance for him to get damage done. Adds more Stalkers. Obviously, Archons are expensive to build because they're DTs, right? Rather than being High Templar, so a little bit more expensive than usual. He's going to go still for an attack. Not sure what he's been waiting for exactly. Okay, he's still going to commit. That's the Lurker Den at the front, by the way. He could kill the Lurker Den, slow down the tech follow-up from Solar. That'd be great. He's also just going to straight up get on top of this hatchery, though. And, well, DT's putting some damage on the 4th base, so that's already putting some work in. Oh, Solar, can you hold this off? I really don't like it for you. You're down an upgrade. You're just down a bit of everything. The early game wasn't good for you. You're losing drones like crazy to a DT on the 4th. Drones over here aren't having a good time. The Sentry Force Fields are holding you up a whole bunch, and the worker count is just plummeting as Trap attacks on in. He blinks on forward. A couple of Mauls are dodging the bars. It just lands between them, and it looks as though Trap's attack is going to make it happen. Solar, he can see the frustration. This was such a low-key, wonderful game from Trap. It wasn't snazzy. It wasn't flashy. It was just really, really smart picking of a build order to completely play Solar into his own disadvantage. Trap is the champion of the next 2021 SC2 Masters.